Heavenly Stories.
In the ancient city of Babylon, where golden ziggurats pierced the sky and the Euphrates River shimmered under the sun, a man named Daniel stood out like a beacon. He was a Hebrew, taken captive years ago from Judah, yet his wisdom and integrity had elevated him to a position of power in King Darius' court. Now, under the vast Persian Empire, Darius ruled with a firm hand, and Daniel, with his sharp mind and unwavering faith, had become one of 3 administrators overseeing 120 satraps, the governors of the empire's provinces. Daniel's reputation was unmatched. His colleagues marveled at his ability to manage complex affairs with clarity and grace. He was not a man of pomp or pride, his quiet strength came from his devotion to his God, the God of Israel. Every day, he prayed 3 times, kneeling at his window facing Jerusalem, his heart tethered to his homeland. The king noticed Daniel's excellence. Darius, a ruler who valued competence, considered appointing Daniel over the entire kingdom, second only to himself. But success breeds envy. The other administrators and satraps, men of ambition and cunning, watched Daniel with narrowed eyes. They whispered in shadowed corridors, their jealousy festering like a wound. "How does this foreigner, this exile, outshine us?" they muttered. They searched for flaws in Daniel's work, scouring records for errors, but found none. His integrity was ironclad, his decisions fair, his conduct beyond reproach. Frustrated, they realized they could not trap him through his actions. "If we're to bring him down," one satrap hissed, "we must strike at his faith." The conspirators devised a plan. They knew Daniel's devotion to his God was unshakable. He would not bend, even under pressure. They crafted a scheme to exploit this, one that would pit Daniel's faith against the king's authority. Approaching Darius, they flattered him, their voices dripping with false loyalty. "O king, live forever," they began. "Your empire flourishes under your rule. Let us honor you with a decree, for 30 days, no one may pray to any god or man except you, O king. Anyone who disobeys shall be thrown into the lion's den." Darius, flattered and unaware of their motives, agreed. The decree was sealed with the king's signet ring, unchangeable under Persian law. Daniel heard of the decree but did not falter. His routine remained steadfast. 3 times a day, he knelt at his window, praying to God as always. The conspirators watched, their trap set. They saw him pray, his lips moving in quiet reverence, and their hearts twisted with triumph. They hurried to the king, reporting Daniel's defiance. Darius' face fell. He realized too late that he had been manipulated. Daniel, his trusted servant, was now ensnared by a law the king himself had signed. The king spent the day in anguish, searching for a way to save Daniel. But the law was ironclad, and the conspirators pressed him, reminding him that no decree could be altered. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Darius reluctantly gave the order. Guards seized Daniel, and the king, his voice heavy, said, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." Daniel was led to the lion's den, a stone rolled over its entrance, sealed with the king's ring. Darius returned to his palace, unable to eat or sleep, haunted by the thought of Daniel's fate. The lion's den was a pit carved into the earth, its walls rough and unyielding, the air thick with the musky scent of predators. Torchlight flickered as Daniel was lowered into the darkness, his silhouette briefly illuminated against the stone. The lions, massive beasts with tawny coats and eyes that glinted like amber, stirred below. Their low growls rumbled through the chamber, a sound that would chill the heart of any man. Yet Daniel's face showed no fear. His trust in God was a shield, his faith a quiet fire that burned brighter than the torches above. The stone rolled shut with a heavy thud, sealing Daniel inside. The conspirators, standing above, exchanged smirks. They believed their plan had succeeded. Daniel, the upright Hebrew, would be torn apart, his influence erased. They returned to their homes, confident that the morning would bring news of his demise. But in the palace, King Darius paced restlessly. He refused food, dismissed his musicians, and sat alone, his mind tormented by the thought of Daniel facing those beasts. He clung to a faint hope, remembering Daniel's unshakable faith. Could his God truly protect him? Inside the den, Daniel stood still. The lions circled, their paws patting softly on the dirt floor. Their eyes locked onto him, muscles taut, jaws capable of crushing bone. But something extraordinary happened. The beasts did not lunge. They sniffed the air, their heads tilting as if sensing an unseen presence. Daniel's lips moved in silent prayer, his heart anchored in trust. He did not see the lions as enemies but as part of God's creation, under his command. An angel, unseen but powerful, stood guard, restraining the lions' hunger. They lay down, their growls fading into quiet breaths, and the den became a place of peace. Above, the city slept, unaware of the miracle unfolding below. The conspirators dreamed of their triumph, while Darius wrestled with guilt. He had trusted the flattery of his advisors, not seeing their deceit until it was too late. Daniel's loyalty and wisdom had been a gift to the kingdom, yet Darius had allowed him to be condemned. As dawn approached, the king rose, unable to wait any longer. He hurried to the den, his heart pounding, his voice trembling as he called out, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" A voice, calm and clear, answered from the depths. "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. They have not harmed me, because I was found blameless before him." Darius' knees nearly buckled with relief. He ordered the stone rolled away, and Daniel was lifted out, unscathed, not a scratch on him. The morning light revealed a man untouched by death, his face radiant with faith fulfilled. The king's heart soared, but his relief soon turned to anger as he realized the depth of the conspirators' treachery. The sun rose over Babylon, casting golden rays across the city's bustling streets. At the lion's den, a crowd gathered as Daniel emerged, his clothes dusty but intact, his demeanor serene. The guards, hardened men accustomed to death, stared in disbelief. The lions, still visible in the pit below, lounged lazily, their ferocity tamed. Whispers spread among the onlookers, Daniel's God had done the impossible. King Darius stood nearby, his face a mix of awe and fury. He had been deceived, and the cost had nearly been Daniel's life. Darius wasted no time. He summoned the conspirators, those administrators and satraps who had schemed against Daniel. Their smug confidence vanished as guards seized them, dragging them before the king. Darius' voice was cold, his judgment swift. "You sought to destroy an innocent man," he declared. "Now you will face the fate you planned for him." The conspirators, along with their families, were cast into the lion's den. Before the stone could be rolled back, the lions roared, their hunger unleashed. The pit became a scene of swift justice, the beasts doing what they had been restrained from doing to Daniel. The king turned to Daniel, his trusted servant, and embraced him. "Your God is mighty," Darius said, his voice thick with emotion. He issued a new decree, one that would echo across the empire. Scribes recorded his words, "In every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, enduring forever, his kingdom will not be destroyed, his dominion will never end. He rescues and saves, he performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions." Daniel's vindication was complete. The satraps who had envied him were gone, their schemes reduced to dust. His position in the court was restored, his influence stronger than ever. But Daniel did not gloat. He returned to his duties with the same humility that had always defined him, his faith unshaken by the ordeal. The people of Babylon spoke of him in hushed tones, not just as a wise administrator, but as a man whose God was real, a God who could tame lions and turn the hearts of kings. The story of Daniel's deliverance spread beyond the city, carried by traders and travelers across the empire. It became a testament to the power of faith under pressure, a reminder that integrity and trust in God could overcome even the deadliest traps. Daniel continued to serve Darius, his life a quiet witness to the God who had saved him. The lion's den, once a place of terror, became a symbol of divine protection, etched into the history of a people who would never forget. Daniel's survival in the lion's den sent ripples through the Persian Empire. In the markets of Babylon, merchants and craftsmen spoke of the Hebrew who had faced death and walked away untouched. Mothers told their children the story at night, their voices low with wonder. Even the satraps who had not joined the conspiracy took note, their respect for Daniel tinged with caution. This was no ordinary man, his God was no ordinary God. The decree of Darius, proclaiming reverence for the God of Daniel, was read in every province, from the dusty plains of Media to the lush valleys of Persia. For Daniel, life resumed its steady rhythm. He returned to his administrative duties, overseeing the satraps with the same diligence that had earned him Darius' trust. But now, his presence carried a new weight. Colleagues who once whispered against him now spoke with deference. They saw in him a man who had faced the jaws of death and emerged not just alive, but triumphant. Yet Daniel remained unchanged. He did not seek glory or power, he sought only to serve his God and his king. 3 times a day, he knelt at his window, praying toward Jerusalem, his heart steadfast. King Darius, too, was transformed. The ordeal had shaken him, revealing the limits of his own power. He had signed a decree that nearly cost him his most loyal servant, manipulated by men he thought he could trust. Now, he ruled with greater caution, seeking Daniel's counsel more often. The king's faith in Daniel's God grew, though he did not fully abandon the Persian gods. He saw in Daniel's survival a power beyond human understanding, and he ensured that the empire knew of it. Temples and altars to other gods stood unchanged, but the name of Daniel's God was spoken with reverence in the royal court. The conspirators' fate served as a warning. Their plan had backfired, their lives ended in the very trap they had set. The lion's den, once a tool of execution, became a symbol of justice. Governors and officials across the empire took heed, scheming against the innocent could bring swift retribution. Daniel's example inspired others, too. Minor officials, inspired by his integrity, began to emulate his fairness in their own provinces. The empire, vast and sprawling, felt the subtle influence of one man's faith. For the Hebrews in exile, Daniel's story was a lifeline. Scattered across foreign lands, they faced pressure to abandon their faith, to blend into the cultures around them. But news of Daniel's deliverance reached them, carried by caravans and whispered in synagogues. It reminded them that their God was not bound by borders or empires. He could protect his people, even in the heart of Babylon. Daniel became a hero, a living proof that faith could endure under pressure, that God could turn a den of lions into a place of salvation. Years passed, and Daniel's story became legend. The lion's den, once a grim reminder of royal power, was now a monument to divine deliverance. Pilgrims and curious travelers visited the site, peering into the pit where lions still roamed, their presence a reminder of the night God had intervened. Scribes recorded the tale, preserving it in scrolls that would be read for generations. Daniel, now older, his hair streaked with gray, continued to serve in the Persian court, his influence enduring through the reigns of Darius and beyond. The impact of that night reached far beyond Babylon. In distant lands, where exiles gathered, Daniel's story gave hope. It spoke to those who faced their own trials, persecution, temptation, or despair. The God who had shut the lions' mouths could protect them, too. Rabbis taught the story to their students, emphasizing Daniel's unwavering commitment. He prayed as he always had, they said, and God honored his faithfulness. The lesson was clear: faith, even under pressure, could move mountains, or tame lions. King Darius never forgot the lesson either. His decree honoring Daniel's God remained in force, a rare acknowledgement of a foreign deity in the Persian Empire. While he ruled, Daniel's counsel shaped policies that brought stability to the provinces. The empire flourished, and though Darius attributed much of its success to his own leadership, he knew Daniel's wisdom played a role. The king's heart had softened, his respect for Daniel's God a quiet undercurrent in his rule. For Daniel, the den was not the end but a turning point. He lived out his days in service, his life a testament to the power of integrity. He never spoke boastfully of his survival, but those who knew him saw the truth in his quiet strength. His prayers continued, his window open to Jerusalem, his heart fixed on the God who had delivered him. The lion's den became a story of triumph, not just for Daniel, but for all who heard it, a reminder that faith could withstand any trial. Centuries later, the story would echo in new contexts. In synagogues and churches, Daniel's faith would inspire believers facing their own lions, whether persecution, doubt, or fear. His example stood as a beacon: stand firm, trust God, and He will deliver. The den, once a place of death, became a symbol of life, its legacy carried forward by a man who dared to believe, even when the world demanded he bow.